Hello, friends. Iran's methods of warfare, Iran's diplomacy, Iran's bilateral agreements with various countries, and in the middle of all this, the role of BRICS, the role of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, whether we talk about Russia or China, the world is changing in an entirely new direction. The only question is, when will the White House put its stamp of approval on this reality? When will the Pentagon give its consent? And the CIA's reports, which from day one have consistently pointed in one direction, that the assessment made about Iran was wrong, and the questions that have now descended into near brawls inside Congress. The dialogue has become so intense that Democratic senators are not holding back from saying that the American president and the American defense secretary are lying. Between what the experts say was spent and what the Trump administration claims, there is a vast gap. And the question is slowly growing larger. Were all the things Trump kept saying through the White House actually false? Or was it merely an attempt to build a narrative? Because today, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei issued a written statement, which was formally read aloud on national media. That message is telling us that in the coming times, whether it is the Arabian Sea or the Gulf countries, all of them will live and move forward without America. The message is clear. American presence in this entire region should not exist in the future. And when the person writing this statement is Mustafa Khamenei, there is a second message too. That all the assumptions President Trump had been making about Iran's internal situation were wrong. There were three major signals Trump had been giving. First signal, Iran has lost the war. Mustafa Khamenei says, absolutely not. We are ready and prepared. Second signal, who is actually running power inside Iran? Everyone is fighting among themselves. There's no money left, the situation will become fragile, and America will have to bring it back on track. The Supreme Leader says, all of this is nonsense. We are standing on our own terms. And let me also clarify, the blockade America has imposed on the Strait of Hormuz means nothing. Our movement has already begun through alternative options. And he openly declares that payments are no longer being made in dollars. They are happening in yuan, in rials, and all countries have agreed to this. And regarding the blockade of ships, we have not only moved our ships through in our own way. Satellite images, which the whole world can see, show that 30 ships have not only passed through, but now the alternative route means going by rail or truck. They pass through Afghanistan to reach China, or they enter through Pakistan and move towards Russia and China. The road is open. You can keep blockading, it doesn't matter. So, was the information under which the White House and Pentagon kept pushing towards war, repeatedly insisting that the war must be short but devastating, that Iran must be bombed ruthlessly this time, was all of that wrong? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was also in agreement on this. But now, the statement that has been released has perhaps, in one stroke, changed all the circumstances that were being navigated through mediation. The routes being explored through Islamabad now hold no meaning. And after these statements, even the American president had to say, mediation through Islamabad will not happen now. It'll happen by phone, by direct conversation. We'll talk ourselves. They can call us directly. We've already told them we won't show softness. But even as he said, we won't show softness, Mustafa Khamenei, in his written statement, openly mentions three things. First, national assets. Second, the future economy. Third, all countries in West Asia or the Middle East will have to see their future minus America. The first point, about national assets, was something America had not imagined, because Mustafa Khamenei openly made an announcement and, in a way, issued an ultimatum, a challenge to America. He said, nuclear enrichment is our national asset. There is no question of negotiating over nuclear matters. Just as the maritime zones within our sovereignty, where you have imposed a blockade, that too is essentially maritime piracy. If you block our ships and encircle our oil on your terms, we are already thinking of alternatives. But we will not negotiate on national assets, and nuclear enrichment comes first on that list. Nuclear weapons, research being conducted in nuclear plants, no talks on that. Second, after nuclear, the next program of this country is its missile program. No concession will be allowed in the missile program. The missile program will continue the way it is running. And during this war period, we have also learned new technology and connected with new technology from other countries. And among those countries are China and Russia. This means the target range of missiles, which was limited until now, will increase, and they can reach anywhere. So the missile program is also our own asset, national property. No talks on that either. Notice, throughout the ceasefire period, the issues around which America's formula was running, and through which Pakistan, Turkey, and Egypt were also building pressure, at least let talks happen on these issues. Before this, the foreign minister kept rejecting it. Before that, the Speaker of Parliament kept rejecting it. The President kept giving different statements. The Revolutionary Guard adopted a hard stance. And then it was being said, those who make decisions in Iran never come to the negotiating table, and those who do reach the table cannot make decisions. That's why no solution emerges. But Mustafa Khamenei took one more step forward and said, national assets mean the missile program. Nuclear assets are our own. And then the second big matter, the economic aspect, the Strait of Hormuz route. And he clearly wrote in this statement, a new era of Hormuz has begun. Going forward, there will be peace, progress, and economic benefit in the region. And the toll tax that was being called illegal, Mustafa Khamenei says, you are calling it illegal, but you haven't respected international laws either. And during this period, Iran's foreign minister made continuous visits to multiple countries, especially to Russia. After that, there was a 2-hour telephone conversation between Russian President Putin and American President Trump. While it was not stated clearly how much of that conversation was about Iran, it was said that they talked about war. Trump kept saying, we are talking about Ukraine. From Putin's side, the message came that we are talking about Iran. But in all of this, whether Russian media or Iranian media, the message that emerged was very clear. America is strategically isolated. Its allies are not with it. NATO has no significance left. Forget NATO, now Turkey, as a NATO member, and what Israel wants to do, Israel wants to strike Turkey as well. But our point right now is simply this. In every war, America's presence seeks its own benefit. For the first time, European countries have understood this process, and countries across the world have understood it in the context of the global economic crisis caused by the global energy situation. Even Japan has understood. It imports oil, and if the price has crossed $26 per barrel today, then a recession will come inside Japan too. Economic crisis will happen there too. Same with Australia. The conversation that is happening openly for the first time is Iran's presence in it as a world power. Or is Iran in a position to openly threaten and warn America based on its own strength? Because Mustafa Khamenei didn't stop there. He said the American military bases that were in the Gulf countries, America couldn't even protect those properly. They turned out to be so weak. So how can it think that whatever nuclear enrichment exists, if taken back to their own country, they'll even be able to keep it safe when they can't keep their own military bases safe? The next question then is, all those countries to which it was claiming to provide security in these regions, that claim carries absolutely no meaning. Whether this is a threat, a warning, an ultimatum, or a display of power, its impact will be felt across the Arabian Sea, the Middle East, the Hormuz route, and the blockade. Look at these images. And as you're seeing them, understand one more thing. Amid Iran's challenge and threats, the world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R, remained deployed in various locations for 300 days. It was active in Venezuela, too, from where Venezuela's president was taken. It was active in Iran, too. But now it is returning to America, and by May 15th it will reach its home port in Virginia. So the blockade exists, but one must also look at one's own situation. Because the rising questions inside America are not just troubling the Trump administration. The Republicans have no answers either. Because today, when Democratic senators inside Congress began raising questions one after another, the first big question was, $1 trillion, this is what experts say, you have poured into this war. The defense secretary said, no, that much money wasn't spent. Only $25 billion was spent. Meaning, Pete Hegseth is now saying only a quarter of what experts are claiming. And importantly, General Dan was also present with him, the one who from the beginning had raised questions that this war's direction should not be pursued, that this is entirely Israel's war, and America should not jump into this war for Israel. Though gradually during the war period, General Dan began presenting his positions and started building strategy alongside the defense secretary. But despite all of that, the CIA reports and intelligence inputs coming in, their message was very clear. How will you exit this war? Nobody knows that now either. Going into war was the mistake, and there's no way out. This is a situation from which America is gaining nothing. And perhaps that is why, when the briefing on attacking Iran came today, given by Central Command, the mention of it was only at this level. Planning for small but powerful strikes will have to be done. But along with that, it was also said, the war should not drag on. And strategically, how can you create pressure on Iran so that it accepts some of your conditions and an internationally recognized narrative is achieved, that America entered this war because the world needed it? But even before this briefing, right before it, Mustafa Khamenei had already issued his open written statement, which was read aloud on state television. Nuclear and missile power are the country's assets. The economic aspect needs to be improved through Hormuz. The message became crystal clear. Talks are out of the question. The question is for America to make its own decisions. Iran has already made its decision. And significantly, at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting, where foreign ministers were present, great recognition was given to Iran's foreign minister. The defense minister's presence was there at the SCO meeting. And regarding BRIC, a proposal is being put forward to move in this direction. Can we truly move towards an alternative currency? Can the dollar be rejected entirely? The impact of all this has been felt most broadly in the UAE's exit from OPEC. Was it because oil prices will drop and America wanted that, so the UAE exited? Or was it the ongoing tensions between the UAE and Saudi Arabia that forced it out? Or is it that for the first time, every country internationally is accepting that it will have to make new alignments on new terms? This situation didn't exist before. Oman, in a way, was with Iran. Saudi Arabia was on Israel's side. The UAE was on America's side. Kuwait and Bahrain couldn't decide which direction to go in what circumstances. Turkey was openly against Israel. Egypt's thinking was also going against Israel. Israel was continuously targeting Hezbollah, Houthi fighters, Hamas, and amid all this, Lebanon, Yemen, all were involved. But a new situation is forming because decisions are not being made by America. Decisions are being made by Iran. And the Middle Eastern countries that until now consider themselves as Iran's competition, for the first time they are understanding that in the coming times they will have to run their economies and oil situations minus America. And the battle for maritime dominance that America started through the Quad regarding the South China Sea, it is now being directly challenged in the Arabian Sea too. America will have no grip or reach there, and in the future it won't even need to think in that direction, because this entire region, along with neighboring countries, will create a new strategy with Iran. This was not imagined. Look at the situation in the last 24 to 48 hours. The country that was mediating, Pakistan, has opened its ports for Iran. Pakistan and Afghanistan, who are at war with each other, Afghanistan is finding a route for Iran. From there, rail lines are being worked out so that tankers reach China. In this context, what was being thought until now, that Middle Eastern countries are united, now for the first time, the Arab League itself is in question. Which country will exit first? Will it be the UAE? That too is a new situation. Along with the UAE, the other Arab countries face difficult circumstances regarding their own economies, which are tied to oil. Saudi Arabia's economy is multidimensional, so it doesn't face as much crisis. But the tradition that has been going on for years, whether since OPEC was formed, or since the petrodollar era began, or since American military bases were established in the Middle East, for the first time, everyone has to think minus America. And if you want to stand with America, it has to be on new terms. These reflections are visible, not somewhere else, but inside the American Congress. These reflections are hidden inside the rising questions of senators. These reflections are in CIA reports, in the yes and no of the Pentagon, and hidden inside the briefing given by Central Command. The crisis for America, for the first time, is over this. All the questions for which it declared victory. The regime has changed, liberals have come, talks will happen, many countries are ready for mediation, we just have to go and get our terms accepted. In one stroke, the statement issued by Mustafa Khamenei has overturned the entire situation. And perhaps in the next 24 to 48 hours, if America does not make a decision, then perhaps for the first time, the world will see Iran's strength in a new alignment. Whether it's in missile building, oil exports, solving the global energy crisis, and if you see European countries standing with it, don't be surprised. This is an entirely new situation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.